Hi everyone, it's time to read for story time here at the Caribou Public Library. We're going to continue with Black Beauty by Anna Sewell today. I'm Miss Erin and I'm so glad that you are joining us today. We are all the way into chapter 39. We're going to do chapters 39 and 40 today. Let me go ahead and show you our picture. All right. So let's go ahead and get started and see what happens to Black Beauty today. Chapter 39 is called Seedy Sam. I should say that for a cab horse, I was very well off indeed. My driver was my owner, and it was his interest to treat me well and not overwork me, even had he not been so good a man as he was. But there were a great many horses which belonged to the large cab owners who let them out to their drivers for so much money a day. As the horses did not belong to these men, the only thing they thought of was how to get their money out of them, first to pay the master and then to provide for their own living. And a dreadful time some of those horses had it. Of course, I understood a little, only a little, but it was often talked over on the stand. And the governor, who was a kind-hearted man and fond of horses, would sometimes speak up if one came in very much jaded or ill-used. One day, a shabby, miserable-looking driver who went by the name of Seedy Sam brought in his horse looking dreadfully beat, and the governor said, "You and your horse look more fit for the police station than for this rank." The man flung his tattered rug over his horse, turned full round upon the governor, and said in a voice that sounded almost desperate, "If the police have any business with the matter, it ought to be with the masters who charge us so much, or with the fares that are fixed so low. If a man has to pay 18 shillings a day for the use of a cab and 2 horses, as many of us have to do in the season, and must make that up before we earn a penny for ourselves, I say 'tis more than hard work. 9 shillings a day to get out of each horse before you begin to get your own living. You know that's true, and if the horses don't work, we must starve, and I and my children have known what that is before now. I have 6 of them, and only one earns anything. I'm on the stand 14 or 16 hours a day, and I haven't had a Sunday these 10 or 12 weeks. You know, Skinner never gives a day if he can help it. If I don't work hard, tell me who does. I want a warm coat and a mackintosh. But with so many to feed, how can a man get it? I had to pledge my clock a week ago to pay Skinner, and I shall never see it again." Some of the other drivers stood round nodding their heads and saying he was right. The man went on. "You that have your own horses and cabs or drive for good masters have a chance of getting on and a chance of doing right. I haven't. We can't charge more than 6 pence a mile after the first, within the 4-mile radius. This very morning I had to go a clear 6 miles and only took 3 shillings. I could not get a return fare and had to come all the way back. There's 12 miles for the horse and 3 shillings for me. After that I had a 3-mile fare, and there were bags and boxes enough to have brought in a good many 2 pences if they had been put outside. But you know how people do. All that could be piled up inside on the front seat that were put in, and 3 heavy boxes went on top. That was 6 pence, and the fare 1 and 6 pence. And I got a return for 1 shilling, and now that makes 18 miles for the horse and 6 shillings for me. There's 3 shillings still for that horse to earn, and 9 shillings for the afternoon horse before I can touch a penny. Of course, it is not always so bad as that, but you know it often is. And I say 'tis a mockery to tell a man that he must not overwork his horse, for when a beast is downright tired, there's nothing but the whip that will keep his legs going. You can't help yourself. You must put your wife and children before the horse. The masters must look to that, and we can't. I don't ill-use my horse for the sake of it. None of you can say I do. There's wrong lays somewhere, never a day's rest, never a quiet hour with the wife or children. I often feel like an old man, though I'm only 45. You know how quick some of the gentry are to suspect us of cheating and overcharging. Why, they stand with their purses in their hands, counting it over to a penny, and looking at us as if we were pickpockets. I wish some of them had got to sit on my box 16 hours a day and get a living out of it, and 18 shillings besides, that in all the weathers. They would not be so uncommon particular never to give us a 6 pence over, or to cram all the luggage inside. Of course, some of them tip us pretty handsome now and then, or else we could not live. But you can't depend on that." The men who stood round much approved his speech. One of them said, It is desperate hard, and if a man does sometimes do what's wrong, it's no wonder, and if he gets a dram too much, who's to blow him up? Jerry had taken no part in this conversation, but I never saw his face look so sad before. The governor had stood with both his hands in his pockets. Now he took his handkerchief out of his hat and wiped his forehead. "You've beaten me, Sam," he said, "for it's all true, and I won't cast it up to you any more about the police." It was the look in that horse's eye that came over me. It is hard lines for a man, and it is hard lines for a beast. And who's to mend it, I don't know. But anyway, you might tell that poor beast that you were sorry to take it out of him in that way. Sometimes a kind word is all we can give 'em, poor brutes, and 'tis wonderful what they do understand. A few mornings after this talk, a new man came on the stand with Sam's cab. Oh, here's a picture of the men talking. Here they are. "Hello," said one. "What's up with Seedy Sam?" "He's ill in bed," said the man. "He was taken last night in the yard. Could scarcely crawl home. His wife sent a boy this morning to say that his father was in a high fever and could not get out, so I'm here instead." The next morning the same man came again. "How is Sam?" inquired the governor. "He's gone," said the man. "What? Gone? You don't mean to say he's dead?" "Just snuffed out," said the other. "He died at 4 o'clock this morning. All yesterday he was raving about Skinner and having no Sundays. 'I never had a Sunday's rest,' were his last words." No one spoke for a while. And then the governor said, "I tell you what, mates, this is a warning for us." Yikes. Chapter 40 is next, and it is called Poor Ginger. Ginger, do you remember Ginger from the beginning of the book? One day, while our cab and many others were waiting outside one of the parks where a band was playing, a shabby old cab drove up beside ours. The horse was an old worn-out chestnut with an ill-kept coat and bones that showed plainly through it. The knees knuckled over and the forelegs were very unsteady. I had been eating some hay and the wind rolled a little lock of it that way. The poor creature put out her long, thin neck and picked it up, and then turned round and round about for more. There was a hopeless look in the dull eye that I could not help noticing. And then, as I was thinking where I had seen that horse before, she looked full at me and said, "Black Beauty, is that you?" It was Ginger, but how she'd changed. The beautifully arched and glossy neck was now straight and lank and fallen in. The clean, straight legs and delicate fallocks were swelled, and the joints were grown out of shape with hard work. The face that was once so full of spirit and life was now full of suffering, and I could tell by the heaving of her sides and her frequent cough how bad her breath was. Our drivers were standing together a little way off, so I sidled up to her a step or two that we might have a little quiet talk. It was a sad tale that she had to tell. You see the picture? And there's Ginger and Black Beauty. After 12 months' run off at Earlshall, she was considered to be fit for work again, and was sold to a gentleman. For a little while she got on very well, but after a longer gallop than usual, the old strain returned, and after being rested and doctored, she was again sold. In this way she changed hands several times, but always getting lower down. "And so at last," said she, "I was bought by a man who keeps a number of cabs and horses and lets them out. You look well off, and I'm glad of it, but I could not tell you what my life has been. When they found out my weakness, they said I was not worth what they gave for me, and that I must go into one of the low cabs, just to be used up. That's what they're doing, whipping and working with never one thought of what I suffer. They paid for me and must get it out of me, they said. The man who hires me now pays a deal of money to the owner every day, and so he has to get it out of me too. And so it's all the week round and round, with never a Sunday rest." I said, "You used to stand up for yourself if you were ill-used." She said, "I did once, but it's no use. Men are strongest, and if they are cruel and have no feeling, there's nothing we can do, but just bear it on and on until the end. I wish the end was come. I wish I was dead. I've seen dead horses, and I'm sure they do not suffer pain. I wish I may drop down dead at my work and not be sent off to the knackers." I was very much troubled and I put up my nose to hers, but I could say nothing to comfort her. I think she was pleased to see me, for she said, "You are the only friend I ever had." Just then, her driver came up and with a tug at her mouth, backed her out of the line and drove off, leaving me very sad indeed. A short time after this, a cart with a dead horse in it passed our cab stand. The head hung out of the cart tail, the lifeless tongue was slowly dropping with blood, and the sunken eyes, but I can't speak of them. The sight was too dreadful. It was a chestnut horse with a long, thin neck. I saw a white streak down the forehead. I believe it was Ginger. I hoped it was, and then her troubles would be over. Oh, if men were more merciful, they would shoot us before we came to such misery. What a horrible chapter! Oh my goodness. Well, I hope that next time we'll be more upbeat. We'll be reading in chapters 41 and 42 next time. So we'll see you then. Bye for now.